Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Tzion Bressa Project for tonight's shir. Just a couple of announcements before we begin. First, of course, that tonight's class should be for the refuah shlema of all those who are not well, specifically um, Reb Chaim and Nachman Belea, and also Abraham ben Sarah Esther, as well as a Luili Nishmat for Reb Aaron Walken, and that for anyone who needs anything, that it should be a schus for you to receive blessing in your life. Further, of course, thank God, Tzion Breslov project has had a successful beginning, and we're into, I think, our second month already. And of course, if you feel that these classes are making an impact on your life, if you feel that Rav David is really speaking to you and helping you in your spiritual journey, your emotional journey, that we ask that you please support us. These classes are, thank God, they're mamish reaching across the world. We have people in Spain, we have people in Israel. They're being impacted by these classes, and because we're so early on, we really need your financial support to make sure these classes continue to be as successful as they are. So. My name is Aaron London. I am a part of the public relations side of Tzion. I'm going to put on the side here our email, which you can do a quick chase, quick pay with. If you have questions, you can always email Rav David. If you want to set up a meeting with Rav David, he's happy to meet with you. But we really appreciate everyone being here tonight and supporting the spread of Rabbi Nachman's Torah. We know that the uniqueness of what Rav David is able to do is to bring down these ideas in a very practical way that could really transform our lives. I know personally, I've been my whole entire family has been impacted by these classes and our relationship with Rav David. So I'll put all the important information on the side in the chat. We also have our Instagram page, Tzion.breslov. We're encouraging people to share their Hisbodedus stories. You can email us again at sionbreslevproject@gmail.com. And without further ado, Rav David.
Thank you, Aaron. Beautiful. And I wanna hearken to something he just said. Again, anyone who knows me knows I'm not comfortable with this at all. But part of helping people means going beyond what's comfortable for you. So I'm gonna hearken something that Aaron said, which is that we need money. We're a very small organization. Thank God it's been an incredible start. None of us could have imagined how much exposure and the feedback and the responses from people. We're getting emails across the world. I'm not just saying that. I'm not just people saying like, hey, that class was really nice, but that I'm living on this. I'm watching this every class, and it's giving me chizuk and strength in life. And they only want to see more and more of it. I can't give away more than that because these conversations are private, but I'm just telling you, I read these emails and I cry. This is what we're doing here is we're trying to give over wisdom from the highest places. And this wisdom, what you're going to learn tonight, has the power to literally transform all of the darkness of your life into light. And it's not a nice tagline, and it's not for a movie screen. You don't have to go to a movie theater to escape your life to find peace in your life. You can actually just have it. However, you need good advice. Rabbi Nachman says that the entire redemption, which means collectively for all the Jewish people in all the world, and on a personal level for yourself, whatever you need help for in your life, Rabbi Nachman says it depends on good advice. And how do you get good advice? You need to get it from a person who's really connected to the truth. And for our generation, there's nobody who speaks to us, who's holding on to that information like Rabbi Nachman. And this is something that Rabbi Nachman predicted 200 years ago when nobody knew him, was that this final generation was going to need whatever he had to say. And we're seeing that more and more every single day. I myself, I've said this a million times, my whole life has been transformed. And I'm not saying that for any other reason except that it's true. that I went literally, like David Amelch said, from the trash bin, from the dunghill, and experiencing true life, and has nothing to do with me at all. It has to do with this incredible transcendent wisdom that's brought down to a practical level that you can bring down into your life. So therefore, I'm going beyond my boundaries, and I'm asking you please for help, because we just started. This is way beyond what we thought it was going to be initially, and there is no limit to what this could be. And we need to help people. You know, we weren't sent to this world so that we can like sit down and just veg out, even though that might be nice at times. We're here on a mission. We're here to bring Geula to the world. The Jewish people are not called the chosen people because Hashem likes us more than somebody else. We're chosen to bring redemption to the world. We're here to lift up the whole physical world. We're here to lift up the whole emotional world. We're here to lift up the whole psychological world. We're here to lift up creation. And when you realize that that's what you're here for, then it becomes very much incumbent on you to do what you can. Rabbi Nachman says explicitly in the Likutei Moharan that every Jewish man and woman needs to, at the very least, make sure they're not holding back redemption for the world. Doesn't mean that you have to achieve it. It just means you can't hold it back. You need to do that much at least. So everybody who's listening should really, if you're connecting to this, if you feel that others can connect to this, the issue here is never going to be the content. This content is real. This advice is true, and it's time tested, and it works. The issue here is not going to be, are we giving you self-sacrifice? Are we being selfless? We're doing that. The only issue is going to be, are we going to have enough reach? Are we going to be able to have the finances necessary to invest in making this not just a positive experience for people who know about these things, but to reach the entire world that is very connected to media, that is very connected to technological advancements. So we need to be there with them. That's the only way to get to those places, and that's going to take finances, okay? So if this connects to you tonight, if you feel like this could help others, please think about what way that you can help us, and understand that this is not about me, and this is not about you. This is about Klal Yisrael. This is about redemption. This is about world peace. This is about living with Hashem. This is much bigger than any of us. So with that, we're going to start the class. Thank you for listening to me. The Midrash in Breshit Rabbah has an amazing question. The question is like this. We know that Hashem created the world, and according to many, he stopped interacting with the world after that. However, the Torah doesn't believe this. The Torah says that Hashem is intimately involved in every aspect of creation, that a leaf doesn't turn unless Hashem says turn, that a flower doesn't bloom unless Hashem says bloom, that every single thing that's taking place at every moment is the active, decisive will of the Ein Sof, the infinite one, Hashem. However, the Midrash doesn't say that. The Midrash says, what has Hashem been doing since he created the world? It says one thing, creating shidduchim, being a matchmaker, getting men and women together from different places, from different backgrounds, from different cultures, and creating events in their life and circumstances in their life that would eventually allow them to come together. So the Torah goes so far as to say that the real reason why somebody grows up, let's say in a family that doesn't have money, and you think it's because your parents don't have economic success, they didn't go to school, they're immigrants, whatever it is. Whereas another family, they have a lot of money, and they grow up in a big home, and they grow up in a wealthy, affluent area. And you think, why? It's because their parents inherited it, because they grew up in white suburban society, whatever you feel like is the natural response to why these things are taking place. However, the Torah teaches that the entire reason Hashem creates one family poor like that and the other one rich like that is because those are the only circumstances that can cause them to eventually meet and to connect. That the whole financial circumstance situation of your family growing up is only to allow you, to push you to eventually meet your wife or your husband, and all your circumstances growing up. And that's an unbelievable thing to think about, to meditate on, that everything happened in your life only so that you can meet your spouse. Now, a lot of us have a hard time understanding that. Why? Some of us are not married. Some of us who are married are wondering why we got married. Some of us who are married are trying to find out how they can get out and thinking about who they could have married instead. Some of us have been trying for many, many years to make this work, and they're failure after failure after failure. Therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. So if Hashem created everything in my life only so I can meet this person, so this thing should be so sweet. This thing should be so beautiful. Hashem did everything so I can get here. So on paper, it doesn't make sense. The Midrash doesn't make sense. Comes along Rabbi Nachman, and he says, you know what a shidduch is? A shidduch, a match, is whenever you take two opposites and you unite them. Whenever you take two entities, two people, two creations, and these two creations have separate natures, different natures, and those two things come together to harmonize and to become a unity and to have peace, that's called a shidduch. So that's the reason why the Midrash says that ever since Hashem created the world, what has he been doing? He's only creating shidduchim at every moment, meaning he is causing you to come into contact with things that are completely dissimilar to you so that you can become one with that thing and to experience peace with that thing. Now that's an unbelievable thought, because this goes completely contradictory to what the world is trying to achieve with their efforts at peace. Because what is the whole world busy doing? Trying to get everybody to convince them to think like they think. Where the Torah is teaching, that's not even peace. If you think like they think, so they're just you. Peace can only come about when you have two completely dissimilar thought processes, and yet you come to a unity and a harmony together. This is the whole reason why the Torah calls between a man and a wife shalom bayit, peace in the home. Just call it, they get along. Call it a good marriage. Why do you call it shalom bayit? Because shalom, peace, only exists when there's two completely separate entities coming together as one. So for instance, let's say you're eating food right now. I see somebody's eating like a burger over there. B'ezrat Hashem, it's kosher. Okay? So, he's shaking his head. Good. So, that burger is very dissimilar from him. Right? It's not alive. It was an animal. He's a person. It's dead. He's alive. He's eating it. Now, what's happening inside of him? Hashem is creating a shidduch. He is creating a unity between them. He's going to take the good from that burger, and he's going to take the good in that person, and he's going to make it come together. And he's going to take the negative of that burger, or the excess of that burger, and the excess of that person, and it's going to leave him. Shidduch. Hashem created another shidduch between this chesed, beautiful Jew, and his kosher burger. Okay? This is just one little example. Now, the question everyone has is, so that sounds great, that's beautiful. But where's my shidduch then? Because I don't have peace with my wife. I don't have peace with my husband. Not only do I not have peace, my house is a war zone. I have more peace everywhere besides my home. Why is that? If all Hashem's doing is trying to create shidduchim, and my whole life was only to get to the point that I marry my dissimilar spouse, so let's do it. Where's the shidduch? Because Rabbi Nachman is giving an unbelievable insight. The shidduch was not just when you got married or when you met your partner. The shidduch is every moment that you have peace, that's called shidduch. And every moment that you don't, it's a missed opportunity at a shidduch that Hashem is trying to create for you. That the whole reason that Hashem is making it, that your wife or your husband is completely dissimilar from you in thought, in speech, in deed, in emotion, in action, is because Hashem wants to give you an opportunity to achieve shalom, peace. Because if you were the same, then you can't have peace. You're just broing out, right? A lot of people say, well, I wish I could just marry my best friend. Yeah, but then you can never achieve peace. And the whole reason Hashem created the world was to experience peace. And not peace that I have you believe and think exactly like I think. But peace that you are you, and I am I, and we are better together than we are separately. We come to a harmony. A good example of this is if you have a band, right? You have a guy who's playing the guitar, he's doing a wicked sweet solo, and you have a guy in the drums, and he's hitting the hi-hats, and he's thumping the bottom. You guys can clearly say I don't know anything about music. And you have all of these different people in the band playing completely different instruments, not thinking the same about how they play their instrument. The sound that comes out is completely different. It's all completely different. And if you have all of those instruments in separate rooms, so, okay, it's nice. When does that become beautiful? When does that become transcendent? When does that become incredible? When does that become life-changing? When those 5 people come together in one room and they're each able to be themselves, but within a harmony. That the drummer is not trying to teach the guitarist, why don't you think like me and play the drums? Hey, dummy, it's because you need to play the drums and I need to play guitar. Otherwise, we're just a drum band. And nobody cares about drum bands. Actually, techno's pretty in these days, but whatever. So you have, it makes sense within a band. You would think that a person is completely insane. Imagine you walk into a room, they're making music, and they're all fighting with each other by trying to get the other to play the same instrument as them. So this is every single one of us in our home. Trying to get everyone around us to think and feel exactly like we think and feel. And Hashem doesn't want that. Because then it's not beautiful. Then it's not harmonious. Then it's not peace. What is it that makes opposites unite? Anyone who's in this class wants to know, what is it that can give me shalom bayit? How can I have peace in my home with my husband? And not even just that we're okay, that it's beautiful, that we're thriving together, and not just between husband and wife. We're learning now, according to Rabbi Nachman, a shidduch can be with your dad, it can be with your mother, it can be with your kids, it can be with yourself. A shidduch is whenever there is a unity of opposites. How is it within yourself? You have a yetzer tov and a yetzer hara. You also have to make a shidduch. Anyone can do this. So the obvious question is, why haven't I been able to? What am I missing? So Rabbi Nachman teaches, and Chassidut teaches, that the only thing that can bring peace, and that doesn't mean that I get you to think like me. It means that there's a harmony of 2 opposites that come together and become more beautiful together than if they're separate. There's one thing. It's called da'at. Da'at. Da'at, in English, translates as consciousness. What type of consciousness? Divine consciousness, transcendent consciousness, God consciousness. When a person has God consciousness, then, or two people have God consciousness, then you can have shalom. What is God consciousness? It's not what you think it is. It is not an old man in the sky with long flowing gray hair, and he's flying around and he's naked and he's taking care of everybody down here. This is not God. Okay? And I know that sounds silly, and I'm sure people will think I never thought about God that way. Anybody who grew up secular thinks that their temple or their whatever is teaching them that God is kind of like up there and he's helping you down here and whatever it is. This is not Hashem. We say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem is one. How come we don't say Rishon? He's the only one. He's one versus two. Because Echad doesn't mean there's no other ones. It also means that. Echad means that's the only Hashem. We are living within a reality that's called Hashem. Or as Rav David Aaron said, the secret life of God. We're all living within the secret life of God. That you don't see him everywhere, anywhere, and yet he's everywhere. And he's not above or down below. He's not outside of you or only within you. It's only Hashem. And we are living within that reality. When you're conscientious of that, that's called da'at. When you are experiencing that in your mind and your heart, that's called consciousness. That's called being conscious. It doesn't come from going on a mountain and meditating for 10 hours and floating into a state of leaving behind all your responsibilities and all your duties in your life. It's about being in the world. It's about being in relationships. It's about being at work. It's about being with friends and family. And to experience that everything in your life is just another revelation of pure godliness. And the whole exile is that we don't realize that. And nowhere is this more true. Nowhere is this more palpable and real than between a man and his wife. And the whole fact that it looks not like that is to show you how great Hashem is. That he can give you a partner who doesn't think like you, who doesn't feel like you, who has no idea what you're talking about, who cannot be understood by you. And you are able to find an unbelievable harmony and unity with that person. Because only a miracle can cause that. And this is the Chiddush of the Torah. And this is what nobody understands. The reason why nobody has peace in their home is because peace is a miracle. Peace is not natural. For peace, you need a miracle. If Rav Nachman is teaching, like he does clearly in the Likutei Moharan, that da'at is the key to shalom, that God consciousness, that everything is Hashem, is the key to peace, both within yourself and with others. So now we can understand why Yeshaya says, what's the difference between when Mashiach is going to be here in the future and right now? And the answer is that da'at is going to cover the world like water covers the sea. Meaning that everyone is going to realize, Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing else besides Hashem. And now we can understand, why does the Torah teach? Why does the Rambam teach in Halacha? How do you know Mashiach is here? If peace has traversed throughout the world, that there's only peace. It's not because Mashiach is going to come and tell you, hey guys, let's get along. It's going to be because he teaches you the truth. And because he teaches the truth, when a person internalizes the truth, that creates peace. The whole reason why I left my job as a social worker and a therapist is because I realized through learning Torah that the gateway to peace is truth. And shalom is actually a name of Hashem. Peace is a name of Hashem. To show how deeply it goes that shalom, peace, is supernatural. It's not natural. It's not part of this natural physical world. Is the extent that in Jewish law, there's a question if you can even name your son Shalom. Because then you're going to have to say his name in the bathroom, and you're not allowed to say Hashem's name in the bathroom. Hashem is called peace. Why does the Torah teach if you don't have peace with your wife, Hashem's not in the house? Because peace is Hashem. So if there's no peace, how can Hashem be there? That is Hashem. If there's peace in your home, you're experiencing Hashem. If there's no peace in your home, you're not experiencing Hashem. Because He is Shalom. He is peace. And now we can understand why the Torah teaches that there's nothing more important in your life than Shalom Bayit. If you don't have Hashem in your home, you don't have Hashem anywhere. So the whole goal is for you to experience consciousness. How are you going to do that if you don't have peace? Peace is God. God is peace. How do we know that this is the case? Do we see this anywhere in the Torah? So Rabbi Nachman explains, unbelievable, in the next chapter in the Likutei Moharan that we're going to do, that in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Mishkan, right, this is the place where there's the full revelation of God consciousness. This is what we're all waiting in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael, that there's a space that Hashem's reality is clearly evident and that you can experience it in a deep faith. You don't need to believe in that place. You experience it. Now, in the holiest place, in that, meaning the place where the vision of God is most intense, so that place is called the Aron. And on top of the Aron, you had two keruvim. Now in English, they call this angels. Again, for anyone who grew up secular, it's not what you were taught growing up, okay? Again, not naked, not flying babies, okay? No such thing. A malach, an angel, is simply a spiritual force which Hashem created in the world, which causes things in reality that Hashem wants to happen. That's what a malach is, okay? Now there's two malachim on top of the Aron, the place where the Torah was, where the ark was, which is the full revelation of godliness. And these two faced each other, and they looked like a boy and a girl, like a man and a wife. And the Torah teaches that when the Jewish people were close to Hashem, they were looking at each other. But when they did not experience that in their life, they looked away from each other. So now everybody knows that Chazal. Anybody who's familiar with the Torah has heard that before. It's Chiddush. Not realizing, and what you're not focusing on, is that these two, man and woman, that they're looking at each other, what are they standing on top of? What is between them? It's the truth. The Torah, the Aron. The whole reason they're able to stay in the same place and to look at each other and to have harmony is because the truth is between them. So we see very clearly that the whole key to peace is truth. So the reason why a family doesn't have peace in their home is because there's not truth in that home. And even if that truth is something that they have intellectually, it's not in their heart. How far does it go that Shalom Bayit is so important that it takes precedence over everything, that peace in the home takes precedence over everything? We learned in last week's Parsha, Naso. In last week's Parsha, Naso, we have a girl, a woman, who is accused of cheating on her husband. And they do a test, like the coronavirus test, a little different though. And they put Hashem's name in the water. And Hashem's name dissolves in the water to prove her innocence. Now we know according to the Torah, you are not allowed to erase Hashem's name. If you write it down on a piece of paper, Hashem's name in Hebrew, you're not allowed to erase it for anything. You can't even throw it out. But Hashem himself says, for the sake of Shalom Bayit, this is the only thing you can erase my name for. Why? Because if you don't have peace, you don't have Hashem, even if you have his name. Peace is the most important thing to Hashem. The Midrash says that Hashem created the whole world only so that they could experience peace. And peace does not mean wearing a tie-dye shirt and going to a concert and taking psychedelic drugs. That's not peace. That's called escape. Peace is when you're able to live with yourself. Not only are you able to live with yourself, you love yourself. And even though where you're at in your life is not where you want to be, you still have harmony and peace with that part of you. You don't have to go anywhere for peace. You just have to have da'at. You have to realize everything is from Hashem. That's called the aron, is between the husband and the wife. I have many, my wife has many friends, right? Amazing people. Completely secular, but amazing, amazing people. Just like people I grew up with. Jews, every Jew is amazing, beautiful. And all of these couples have tremendous marital relation problems. Tremendous. And I met both of the people in the relationship. They're the most amazing people, the nicest people you ever met, much better than me. Nicer than me, much more caring than me. And they have no peace in their homes. Their wives are at home crying every night. Their husbands are at work all day and night. Why? Because they're trying to give their wife what they want to be happy, and their wife is dying for them to come home to spend time with them. And there's a whole issue where nobody knows how to do it. And the answer is very simple, and I tell my wife all the time, because they don't have da'at. They need to learn Torah. There's no avoiding it. Because it's the only way to have peace is through truth. And if a person doesn't have truth, it's not their fault that they don't have peace in their home. They can't. You could see every psychiatrist, every therapist, every marital counselor. Until you have da'at, you will not have peace. Until you have God consciousness, you will not have peace. Because peace is supernatural. Just like Hashem. There's no way to experience something supernatural unless you have Hashem. Now I want to add a very important caveat here, something that is not talked about, something that is very, very important. And this is one of the biggest issues in relationships. That everybody says they're right. That if you speak to any husband, he will swear to you on his life and promise and send away all of his money. I promise you, I'm right. There is something wrong with my wife. She's this and she's that. She doesn't listen to me. She doesn't care about me. She doesn't help me. She belittles me. She's like not supporting me at all. Okay, good. So that's your truth. I promise you, if I spoke to your wife, she would swear to me on every fiber of her being that her husband is not responsible, that her husband doesn't care about anyone else besides himself, that her husband is not listening to her, that even when he does listen, he doesn't hear her. He doesn't make time for her or the kids. And they're both right. They're both right. But they're both wrong. Because Rabbi Nachman says that there's the truth, but there's the truth of truths. And this is what nobody knows. And this is what only Rabbi Nachman can teach you. The truth is not enough for peace. You need the truth of truths. What does that mean? Each one of us feels that we know what's real, that we know what's true. Okay? That's great. That's wonderful. And everyone else thinks that as well. However, what's Hashem's truth? If we're saying that the only way to experience peace is to connect to Hashem, so what's Hashem's truth? That's really the most important thing then. If I want to have a beautiful relationship with all those around me, then I need Hashem's truth. Because my truth is leading to me being depressed. My truth is leading to me looking for every reason to leave the house. My truth is leaving me crying every night, not knowing what to do the next day. My truth isn't working, and I don't know why, because it's real. And the answer is because it's not the truth of truths. The truth of truths is Hashem's truth. What does Rabbi Nachman teach as the truth of truths? Peace. Hashem's truth is called peace. That means if you say something to your wife or your husband that you say and you will swear is the truth, and that's why you're saying it, how can I not say it? It's true. So you know what the Torah says? If what you're saying is hurting your spouse, it's not true. Because the truth can only lead to peace. If what you're saying is hurting your spouse, it's called a lie according to the Torah. We grew up thinking, it's the truth. How am I not going to say the truth? I remember somebody when I was in elementary school, I had this kid who used to bully everybody. And his whole, his entire justification is that he was saying the truth. According to his little pea-brained infant mind, it was the truth. This guy's a this, and this guy's a that, and this guy's a this, and this guy, and he's crushing everybody's soul, all because it's the truth. It's the truth. How are you not going to say the truth? Unfortunately, most of us never learned Torah growing up, and then we would know that the truth is peace. The truth is peace. Do you know the reason why on Shabbat you have to have candles and you have to light them on Shabbat, and it's one of the biggest mitzvot and it brings so much blessing into your home? It's because the Torah teaches if there's no light in the room, then the husband and the wife, they can't have peace because they can't see each other. Because they can't see, they have no peace. To the extent that they have to discuss how far do you have to go to make sure you light those candles. Because it's so important to have peace. So therefore, think to yourself, okay, when you leave the class, when you do Hipodadut, Bezrat Hashem, when you talk to Hashem, say to yourself, what are the things that I say to my wife that hurt her? What are the things I say to my husband that hurt him, that I think are true? And I want you to recognize that if it's hurting him or her, it's not true. And that's why you don't have peace in your house. By the way, that goes for you too. If the things that you say to yourself about yourself are hurting you, they're not true. Because if they were true, they would lead to peace. Because the truth can only make a person happy. And if it's making you sad, it's not true. What's another reason there is no peace in relationships? Because the secular world teaches you, And even if you're religious, it doesn't mean you're not secular. If you wear a kippah and you have a black hat and you have a beard and whatever, it doesn't mean you're religious. Okay? And I don't even know what the word religious means. It doesn't mean you know Hashem. What do we teach? What do we taught growing up? That to have a good relationship means my spouse makes me happy. That is garbage. That's not true. That is not the goal of a relationship. And it's not real. You know why? Because your wife or your husband can't make you happy. Only you can make you happy. Your wife or your husband can complement that. They can augment that. They can assist you in that. But your wife and your husband is never, ever going to make you happy. And it's not because there's something wrong with your husband or your wife. It's because it's impossible for your spouse to make you happy. Only you can make you happy. And specifically, your connection to Hashem. How do we grow up? I want to find that girl that makes me feel good about myself. I want to find that guy that makes me feel good about myself. Yeah, but what happens when they stop making you feel good about yourself? You get divorced. Why is the whole world getting divorced within the first few years of marriage? Because my husband or my wife stopped making me feel good about myself. So according to that definition, you're right. You should have 1,000 spouses. Because none of them are ever going to make you happy. Because nobody can make you happy. Only you can make yourself happy. So how can you be happy in your relationship then? If they're not making me happy and I'm not happy, when am I going to be happy? When are they going to be happy? So you ready? Listen to this. The Torah teaches your desire in your relationship should not be to receive anything. That when you wake up in the morning, you shouldn't think for 1 second about what you want your wife or husband to give you. Your only thought should be, what can I give my husband or wife? That's it. All day, what can I give? Not what can I receive. Because receiving is natural, and natural leads to dysfunction. Giving is supernatural. Giving is godly. Giving doesn't make sense. And only something that's supernatural can lead to peace. Only something that's godly can lead to peace. When you are in a relationship with somebody, the main reason you're suffering is because you're looking for them to do something, to be something besides themselves. Stop doing that. Your only focus should be, how can I give better to this person? How can I give more to this person? And then if they give you anything, it's a cherry on top. Somebody came to Rav Nachman ben student. He said, you don't understand though, my wife is crazy. She's constantly yelling at me, telling me I'm nothing. She's abusing me verbally. And it goes on and on and on. Rav Nachman says, is she home when you come home? He said, yeah. He said, does she give food to your kids? He said, yeah. He said, what else do you need? And I know that sounds crazy, but you need to understand where he's coming from. The perspective of the Torah is your spouse is not there to give you. Your spouse is there for you to give her. Hashem is trying to teach you to be godly. How do you be godly? To be like Hashem. Does Hashem receive anything? No, he only gives. He doesn't receive anything. He just gives. He gives and he gives, and he's trying to figure out other ways to give. We don't give him anything. His only desire is to give. So when you're like that, then you'll have peace in your relationship. And also, once you do that, you'll actually find that your spouse ends up helping you in a lot of the ways she didn't before that, or he didn't before that. That when you stop looking for your spouse to give you, then she's going to give you. Then he's going to give you. The reason that your spouse is called your Ezer Kenegdo, that means your helper against you. So the question is, which one is it? Is she or he helping me, or is she or he against me? And the answer is, it depends on you. If your only focus is to give to your spouse, then she will help you, or he will help you. But if your focus is to receive, then he or she will be against you. So therefore, your goal in your relationship is not to change your partner. Stop trying to change your partner. Stop trying to make her or him more something or different. Your goal is not to change, but to recognize. Your goal is not to change, but to appreciate. Appreciate the good that you see in your spouse. Find the good points in your spouse and focus only on those good points. That's all that your spouse really is. And everything that your spouse struggles with, they're not her, those are his struggles. But by focusing on the good inside of your partner only, they become that good completely. And also, the goal again is not to change. The goal is to recognize. Why is that? Because the whole reason Hashem made it a mitzvah in the Torah to get married. Where does marriage come from? Everybody thinks marriage has been around forever. There was no concept of marriage before the Torah. You want to know why the majority of the world is not married? They can't stay married or they don't get married? It's because it's a concept from the Torah. So how are you going to stay married if you don't know what the Torah says about being married? Torah is the one that created the concept of marriage. It's like if I created the concept of basketball and you're trying to play all day and night, but you never learned from the place that created basketball. So what do you think that's going to look like? A monkey in a circus. Think about your relationships. We're all monkeys in a circus. Why? Because the Torah created marriage. So find out what the Torah says about a successful marriage and you'll know how to be married. Why did Hashem make marriage so important? That he created your whole life, all of your struggles, all of your issues, all of your psychological issues, all of your physical issues, all of the abuse, all of the poverty. And then on the other end, all of the wealth and all of the affluence and all of the connection and all of the friendships and all of the triumphs. The Midrash says Hashem did all of that just so you meet your spouse who's completely different than you. Why? Because the only way to be close to Hashem is to be close to your spouse. There is no way to be close to Hashem if you're not close to your spouse. Why? Because Hashem is completely different than you. Can you imagine every day you're crying to Hashem, Hashem, why can't you just be more like me? Why can't you think like I think? We never say that. Why don't you ever pray for that? That Hashem should be like you. Chas v'shalom. Can you imagine if you were running the world? Woo! That would be interesting. It would be a train wreck. We don't want Hashem to be like us. We want him to be like him. We just need to get on his wavelength. And Hashem created your marriage partner that you should experience someone who is completely different than you, just like you're completely different than Hashem. Because the goal is not to change Hashem. The goal is to recognize Hashem. Da'at, God consciousness, doesn't mean that you're changing what Hashem does for you. It's recognizing Hashem in your life. It's the same thing in your relationship. You want there to be peace in your relationship? Stop trying to change your partner. Recognize the godliness which is within them and pay attention only to that. And focus only on giving to that. And when you do that, then you'll see Hashem in your life. I want to tell you something amazing. I had a huge chiddush. The Torah says that you should honor your spouse more than yourself. What does that mean? You want something, your spouse wants something. You know they want it just like you want it. You should give it to them. So for instance, it was a few Shabbats ago, and I, Baruch Hashem, B'li Ayin Hara, I have 3 children. And, at this point, it's hard to get a place to sleep. Because there's this kid who's up and screaming, and then there's this baby who's crying. So there's really only one place to sleep that you can actually sleep, and that's on the couch in the living room. That you can, for sure, you're going to get sleep there. Because if you're in the bedroom, my baby's there. And me and my wife are both sleep deprived. And we both have many things are going on. And Shabbat comes, and I have toiled and worked all week. I'm dead by the time Shabbat comes. And I see my wife, she wants to lay down. At nap time, when my kids are sleeping. So what did I do? I have to honor her more than myself. I can't sleep in my room with my kids or my bedroom because they might wake up and I need them to sleep so I can sleep. But I also need my wife to sleep. So what am I going to do? So I slept on the floor. And I realized something unbelievable. I had the biggest chiddush. The Torah teaches that Hashem keeps all of his mitzvot. That means that Hashem is working every moment to give you what you need at his own expense. That in that little moment, I realized I had such a chap. That Hashem is going to every length possible to give you what you need completely at his own expense, and we don't even realize it because he keeps his own mitzvot. And again, that doesn't mean that I lay on the floor so that my wife realizes and then she does me a favor later. That's not what we're talking about. That's not love. Love is unconditional. Love is not based on a condition. You don't wash the dishes for your spouse so that they will do you a favor later. That is called conditional love. And there's no peace with conditional love. But if you give to your spouse, not because you want anything in return, but just because you love, then you'll have peace. And then you'll have peace with Hashem. Because the only way to connect to Hashem is to stop trying to change his ratzon, to stop trying to change what he wants from us, and to appreciate and to recognize the good in it and to connect to it. Because when you're constantly resisting and desiring a change, it's because you're being a receiver instead of a giver. In Chassidut, it goes so far as to teach that if any person at any moment desires to give, that person is called Jewish at that moment. To be Jewish means he gives. If a person is receiving and he has no thought of giving, then that part of him is not Jewish. And this is the last thing that everybody needs to understand very clearly. Ein shum yeush olam klal. I'm not sure if I said that right. Please forgive me if I didn't. There is no despair in the world at all. If you have been struggling to have any type of harmony or peace with your spouse for the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, and you feel that there's no chance that we can ever make this work, I'm either going to get divorced or I'm going to live a miserable existence the rest of my life. You need to know, Rabbi Nachman says there's no such thing as despair in the world at all. And even more than that, Rabbi Nachman says explicitly, and listen to this, okay? Peace, shalom, must be preceded by strife, machloket. There is no way to experience peace with yourself, with your partner, with your coworker, with your parents, with your children, unless you first experience strife, machloket. It's not a problem that you guys do not have peace. That is the prerequisite for peace. You must first not get along. You must first not understand each other. You must first fight. Where do we learn this from? The very beginning of creation. That when Hashem created the universe, the whole world was tohu vavohu, was chaos. And then Hashem said, Vayahi or, let there be light. And there was light. So the way that we usually normally read, this is like a story. Okay, Hashem made the world, and the world was crazy, and then there was light, and woo, it's awesome, you know? The Torah is teaching the deepest thing, the deepest, most important thing. That before you can experience light, and there is no light beside Da'at, beside God consciousness, there is no light besides Torah, there is no light besides peace. You must first experience tohu vavohu. You must first experience chaos. You must first experience darkness. Darkness is the key to peace. Darkness is the key to light. This is the whole chiddush of this world. Why did Hashem bring me here? Why am I here suffering all the time? Why am I constantly struggling and confused and angry and sad? And the answer is that chaos has to come before peace. That's in the world and that's within yourself. The question that's obvious is, why do we need chaos before we can experience peace? Why do I need inner chaos? Why do I need chaos in my relationships? Why can't I just experience peace? What do you need darkness for before light? And the answer is, because the only way you can experience Da'at, God consciousness, this thing that creates peace, the ability to see that everything is Hashem, the Torah, is only through one means at all. There's only one way to acquire God consciousness, and that is with emunah. Emunah. Faith. How does a person experience emunah, faith? Only when he doesn't understand. Only when things are dark. Only when things are painful. Only when things are chaos. The one thing you can do in this world that you can't do in the next world is acquire emunah. Emunah can only come from suffering. You cannot acquire faith except through chaos. The reason why Hashem created tohu vavohu and then there was light is because when you're confronted by darkness, the only way you're able to experience a change, a transformation, a switch to peace is by relinquishing your truth and believing that Hashem knows more than you. And believing that Hashem is taking care of you even though it doesn't look like it. That Hashem wants the very best for you, that He loves you in a way that you can't possibly understand even though your life doesn't look like that at all. Because if you don't believe that, you die. And if you don't die physically, you die from stress. And if you don't die from stress, you die from psychological pain. And if you don't die from psychological pain, You die from emotional turbulence. I was speaking to someone and I had a long conversation with them. And I said to them, that's why it's so important that you have to believe that everything is for the good. And they said to me in the most honest, genuine way, someone who is completely secular. She said, David, what if I don't believe that? What if I just don't believe that? And I wanted to start crying because I realized then there's nothing to do. There's no answer. There's nothing I could say to make this person feel better. There's nothing they can do that's not going to stop them from going to see a psychologist and going on medication. Because when you don't believe that everything is from Hashem and for the best, the only natural response to your life in this world is despair. Because this world was only created to give you emunah. And the emunah can only come from the darkness of the world. Because you don't need to believe unless you don't understand. And if you understand, you don't need to believe. This world is specifically for not understanding anything. And believing that's for the good. And in the next world, which will be forever, then you'll see how it's all good. But now is the time to believe it's all good. And then Yehi Or, then there's light. When we wrap tefillin every day, we say, Verastich li be'emunah v'yada'at et Hashem. I'm marrying myself to you, Hashem, be'emunah. Meaning, I believe that everything is from you. I believe everything is for the best. I believe everything is only to bring me closer to you. V'yada'at et Hashem. And then I'm going to know you. And da'at is the key to peace. So what's the key to peace? Emunah. Because when you have emunah, then you come to know Hashem. And when you come to know Hashem and you have da'at, then you have peace in your life. And we'll end with this. Rav Nachman goes so far as to say, why are you not allowed to have empathy for a person who doesn't have da'at? The Torah teaches that if a person, let's say for instance, there's a terrorist bomber, okay? And he goes to court and he's being tried. So the way that I grew up is you have to have compassion on this person. Why? Because he grew up in a home where he was brainwashed since birth. And he was taught that Jews are the bane of existence. And if they were to wipe us all out, they would have peace in this world. And they would experience 70 virgins or whatever they're looking forward to. So what would I say? I would say we should have empathy for them. We should have rachamim for them. We should give them the land of Israel. Maybe it'll make them feel good. It'll make them happy. What's the issue with this? The Torah says they don't have da'at. They don't have God consciousness. So what's going to happen if you have empathy for them? They're going to kill you after. And it's not because they're a bad person. It's because they don't know Hashem. And a person that doesn't know Hashem, even if he does his very best, leads to destruction in this world. Karl Marx was not looking to destroy the world. He was looking to bring peace. But he didn't have da'at. And he brought communism. And the community that I live in right now is suffering every day from Karl Marx's good intentions to bring peace through socialism. And every single one of them is traumatized by this. And it's not because Karl Marx was a bad person. I don't know him. It's because he didn't have da'at. So Rav Nachman teaches that da'at is the key to peace in your relationship. Why? Because only with da'at, with God consciousness, can you have empathy. Empathy is impossible. True empathy is impossible to have except with da'at, with God consciousness. And whatever empathy you have for them is not real empathy. And it actually is handicapping them. But if you have da'at, then you can have empathy for them. And the more your da'at, your God consciousness grows, the more empathy you can have for them, and that will create more peace. This is why Rav Nachman teaches that to be a leader of the Jewish people, the number one quality is rachamim, is empathy. But it's impossible to have rachamim without da'at, without God consciousness. And now we can understand, why should Moshe Rabbeinu be the leader of the Jewish people? Why should Mashiach be Moshe? What's so special at Moshe? That he sacrificed his life for people that didn't respect him at all. He sacrificed his life for people that didn't listen to him, even though all he was trying to do was save their life. How was he able to be so empathetic to a group of people who did not do anything good for themselves and gave him the hardest time? And the answer, because Moshe Rabbeinu is Gematria 613. Moshe Rabbeinu, says Rabbi Nachman, is the Torah. He is Da'at. So because he had perfected Da'at, he had the highest level of empathy. That he only saw the good in the Jewish people. He didn't see anything else. And therefore he said to Hashem, Hashem, erase me from the Torah if you're going to do anything to these people. What are you talking about? You're struggling day and night. You're not sleeping. You're not eating for months at a time so that you can try and bring peace to your people. And they are having orgies and they are worshiping idols. They're doing everything you asked them not to do. And then they're saying to you, why aren't you helping us? Why did you bring us to the desert? It would have been better if you left us in Egypt. You were a slave there. And they're blaming Moshe for everything. And Moshe is going to Hashem and he's saying, Hashem, erase me from this world if you do anything to them. How could he ever get to such a point? Because he had complete doubt. Because everything is from Hashem and he looked for the good. Because it's the only real thing. And by the way, and we'll end on this, and then we can ask questions. Rabbi Nachman teaches that Hashem has two loves. He loves justice and he loves the Jewish people. But Rabbi Nachman teaches he loves the Jewish people more. And Rabbi Nachman says explicitly that Hashem only looks for the good in you always. He's only ever looking for the good in you. How much, when you live your life, do you feel like Hashem hates me, Hashem doesn't think I'm good, Hashem doesn't believe in me, Hashem thinks I'm the worst? No, that's you. Hashem thinks great about you. Hashem is only looking for the good in you. And to have peace in your relationship, you need to do that to yourself, and you need to do that for your spouse. And by the way, this is the most empowering thing. Because if everything we learned in this class is true, and it is, that means you don't need your partner to do anything to have peace in your home. You are the only one responsible to have Shalom Bayit. Everyone who's listening to me, and we'll end with this, and then we'll take questions. If you think that you're close to Hashem, and your house is a train wreck, it's because you're not really close to Hashem. Because to be close to Hashem means to stop trying to change Him, but to appreciate Him for what He is, and to meet Him where He's at. and to stop trying to look to receive, but to start to look to give. And the only way to experience peace and truth in that relationship is to do the same thing with your spouse. Stop looking for them to change. Give them. And they don't give you back, it doesn't matter. You're not here to receive. You're here to give. And you know what the most unbelievable thing is? When you stop trying to receive and you only look to give, you'll find the happiness you've been looking for your whole entire life. It's not in a psychology textbook. It's not in a People magazine somewhere. It's not in a therapist's office. The key to being happy is to being selfless. The more that you're selfless, the happier you are. Somebody came to the Rebbe and told him how depressed he was. He's so sad. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. You don't understand. And he's crying and he's crying and he's crying. And the Rebbe's listening to him. I'm sure he's crying as well, because that's what he used to do with everybody. He would just sit with you and cry with you. And he told him, I want you to do something for me. I want you to find a job that you're volunteering. Just volunteering. You're not getting paid for it. You're just giving. And I want you to come back and tell me after how you feel. He said, what are you talking about? I'm depressed. I need medication. I need help. He said, just try it. Go do something where you give. See how you feel. He came back a year later and he said, he saved my life. He saved my whole life. I went to go volunteer and I saw how much giving made me happy. And then I gave more and then I got happier. And then I gave more and then I got happier. The secular world teaches you that to be happy means to get what you want. The reason why everybody's unhappy is because that's not how you get happy. That's how you get sad. That's how you get anxious. That's how you become confused. That's how you become scared. The way to be happy is to be selfless. And the more selfless you become, the happier you will be. Don't look for something from anyone. Just do. Just give. And if they don't reciprocate, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. They're not here for that. However, when you do give completely and you become completely selfless, if you're ever married to such a thing, then your partner will actually give you everything. Because they are your Ezra Kenegdo. They are built to be against you until you become selfless. And when you become selfless, then they help you. Thank you for listening, everybody. Just before we have questions, tomorrow night, we're going to have a men's lesson in Kutam Iran, very important lesson. Please tune in for all the men who are listening. Tell your friends. Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday night, we have a women's class. Okay? So please tell your women friends, your lady friends, to come to the women's class. Thursday night, we're going to finish with the men's class. Okay? We're going to do Bezrat Hashem, the whole thing again next week. Everyone should have questions right now. And yes. So please ask away. Shoot. I'll do my best. Bezrat Hashem, Hashem, please help me to give truthful answers. Okay, yes, go ahead.
There's never ever a moment where you reprimand your wife or anybody that you're in a relationship with? Say they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Doing something wrong. Are you allowed to tell them they're doing something wrong? Or according to what you're saying, you shouldn't, and you should just better yourself? If I'm understanding.
You should be very, very tactful. You should bring your spouse on a date. You should bring them to a nice restaurant and give them really good food. You should make them feel that you really love them. And then in a place of complete, when you guys have real joy with each other and connection with each other, then mention By the way, with our kids, I really want the best for them. I know we both want the best for them. What can we do to help this? Not in the moment. Not in the moment. I'm telling you this right now. One second. I grew up completely secular from an Ashkenazi family in New Jersey. I got married to a Sephardic, Middle Eastern, Yemenite Jew, religious from Israel. Talk about two opposites. I'm telling you right now, besides the fact that we love each other, there is nothing that is similar about us. Nothing. Not one thing. But our relationship is beautiful. And Baruch Hashem, our kids are good. Why? Because we don't fight in front of our kids. That if my wife, let's say, because she's much tougher than I am, I'm like mush, and she reprimands them, or she punishes them, I pretend to feel the same way in front of my kids. And if I do the opposite, then my wife does her very best to meet me where I'm at in front of the kids. We think that the key to our kids turning out well is that they turn out like however you think in your mind. The key to your kids turning out well is that you get along. If you get along, your kids are going to be beautiful. If you don't get along, your kids are going to be a train wreck. It's not about doing the right thing necessarily or parenting the right way. It's that you guys have peace and happiness and joy and love with each other. Then your kids will be healthy. And when you're on your own time, you work on figuring it out. But in a very, very tactful way, in a very empathetic way. And the only way to do that is with da'at, is with God consciousness. And the only way to have da'at is to learn chassidut. It's the truth. So therefore, come and learn. Okay? I'm learning every day. Yes?
You will reprimand when you're angry, right?
Definitely, 100% not. The sages say not to. And the Garrett the Ramban that the Sephardim read every day, the Ramban says that you should never, ever raise your voice. He was Sephardic. He was the most Sephardic person who ever lived. So how are you going to tell me, okay, it's just for Ashkenazi people? It's not. It's a Jewish thing. The Rambam says in Halakha, it's Halakha, not Musar, not Kabbalah, not Chassidut. The Rambam says in Halakha, you're not allowed to get angry. You're not allowed to. He goes so far as to say that the only time that you can know is if, let's say, for instance, you're raising your kids and they need to know that what they're doing is not right. You have to look angry and not feel angry. You have to go like this. And inside, you're fine. Totally fine. How can we ever get to such a level? This sounds like a superhuman, supernatural thing. Yes, it is. How do you do that? Da'at. Only through da'at. And how do you get da'at? How do you get God consciousness? Through the Torah. And how do you get the Torah? Emunah. And Rabbi Nachman says, what is emunah? You talk to Hashem. That's emunah. Emunah is not some vague, abstract belief in God. Emunah is, I'm talking to Hashem. The more I talk to him, the more I believe in him. The more I believe in him, the more da'at I'm going to have. The more da'at I'm going to have, the more peace I'm going to have. Any other questions?
Yep. Hi. Can you hear?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So is this idea of Shalom Bayit in general, like connecting opposites and creating harmony, is it related to the idea of the unification of God's name?
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Okay. I don't know what that means really, but.
Okay, so I'll tell you. So within Kabbalah, there is a concept of a yichud, a unity. And we know that everything in this world is really letters of Hashem's name. Yud Ke, Vav Ke. And in Kabbalah and Chassidut, they teach that the whole key to redemption in this world is to unify Hashem's name. That's the reason why we say in Aleinu 3 times a day that Hashem is one and His name is one. Okay, great. What does that even mean? Hashem is one and His name is one. Okay, so my name is David. So when I'm David and my name is David, what does that mean? The answer is that it's Geula. Why? Because Hashem is one and the letters in His name have peace. It means that everything in reality reaches harmony. And when everything in this world reaches harmony and tikkun, peace, that's called Hashem's name is one. So yes, it's very connected. Any other questions? And you should ask me practical questions, because if you have issues, like we all do, so the way Rabbi Nachman says to getting those issues fixed is to ask for an answer to the problem. Ask. And if you don't want to say it out loud, so hide your face. And if you don't want to hide your face, so text me. Let me look and see if there's any questions on the bottom. 1 second. If we're only meant to give, can we give if we don't feel full? Meaning we're insecure, sad, etc. This is when you're single and when you're married. So it's a good question. Your ability to give is the Hashem. The more you believe in Hashem and His Torah, the easier it's going to be for you to give. If you try and give before you have that knowledge or that emunah, you're not going to be able to give. And if you do, you are going to poop out. Like I know I went to social work school. Every therapist has a therapist. Why? Literally, as soon as I remember when I was training in school, you see, like the week would end and everybody did all their therapy sessions. And then we as a group all had a therapy session where everybody in the group was just crying hysterically from everything that they heard and from their own stuff. Why is that? The answer is because they don't know Hashem. Your ability to give is dependent on your cup being full. And your cup being full is dependent on your emunah. So the more you have emunah, which means the more you talk to Hashem, the more your cup is going to be full and the more you're going to be able to give. So yes, giving without having is very destructive. But it's incumbent upon you to give. So therefore, it's incumbent upon you to know. And for you to know, you must believe. And to believe, you have to speak. So we see that the redemption comes through speech. That you talk to Hashem every day. And if you ask Hashem, Hashem, please help me to know you, because it's the only way I'm going to have peace in my relationship, Hashem's going to answer that. And if you try and give before you know, then you will self-implode, like I've done for 30 straight years. This is the reason why the Torah says, give chesed to Abraham and emet to Yaakov. Actually, it says the opposite way, and there's a reason for that. Give truth to Yaakov and give love to Abraham. Because if you try and give when you don't have truth, you're going to destroy yourself and everyone around you. But when you have the truth, then you can give. And that giving is good for everyone and it's good for yourself. We have another question below. You mentioned Mashiach will speak the truth, but how do we know what the truth is? There's many different types of Jews, sects with many opinions. That's a great question. Here's the answer. You'll know the truth when you attain humility. When you attain humility, you'll know the truth. until you attain humility, you'll never know what the truth is. Your ability to experience truth is dependent completely on your ability to be humble. This is why the prophet said that in the end, the meek or the downtrodden are going to inherit the earth. What does that mean? It means that only the ones who have suffered so much in their life that they're left now with no ego, these are the people at the end that are going to experience the truth. Because the ability to experience the truth is dependent on your level of humility. And Rabbi Nachman says that when Mashiach comes, everyone is going to be shocked. Everyone is going to be shocked. This is Mashiach. This is Mashiach. Nobody's going to believe him. However, Rabbi Nachman says that my followers are not going to be surprised at all. In fact, they're going to be very comfortable with what he's saying. What's the reason? Because they're going to be humble. Because nobody follows a tzaddik unless they're humble. And therefore, if you want to know, how do I know what the truth is? The answer is to try and pray for humility. To know that you don't know. And to ask Hashem that you should know. And to allow yourself to experience what that truth is. We have a couple more questions. If a person lives in an unfaithful and abusive household, to still work on such a relationship, are you supposed to give in that relationship? Also, does Hashem forgive for this? Okay, so this is a very sensitive topic. First of all, I would say, you need to make sure you're safe. Okay? You need to make sure you're safe. The Torah values life over anything. That means that you need to be safe. Okay? With that being said, Rabbi Nachman says, whoever is your marriage partner, whoever you're married to, especially if you're still in your first marriage, whoever is your marriage partner on your first marriage, you should do whatever you can to stay with them no matter what. Why? Because he says that this person was created in order to give you Olam Haba. And the whole reason they are like they are is because that's what's giving you the next world. And especially if they're difficult. But your ability to experience that or to even care about that is dependent on your level of faith. So you have to talk to Hashem. Every day you have to talk to Hashem. And so again, first you have to be safe. Okay? But then beyond being safe, there needs to be a shift of consciousness. That my desire is not to receive, but my desire is to give. Because when you do that, you're going to experience peace within yourself and within your partner. And if you continue to give, even though you're being reciprocated, you'll find true happiness. And then ultimately, you will find reciprocation as well. There's another question down here. What is our obligation to ensure that there's peace in marriages other than our own, such as the marriages of our children? So we know that the Torah teaches, it says in Pirkei Avot, that we should be like students of Aaron. Because Moshe Rabbeinu's brother Aaron was obsessed with peace. He loved peace, he ran after peace. And Halakha says we should be like him, not like Moshe. So what does that mean? It means that you should try and make peace and help everybody have peace in their relationships. However, that's not by telling them to have peace, because that doesn't help. The answer is by exposing them to truth. Not your truth. Hashem's truth. And that is Chassidut. Introduce them to Chassidut. Because with God consciousness, then they're going to be able to have peace in their relationships. But you're not going to be able to impose peace on anybody, and especially if you don't have peace at home. You are not going to be able to teach anybody how to have peace if you don't have peace in your house. Because you cannot give something you don't have. So therefore, just first work at home. Now let's say, Bezrat Hashem, you have the merit to achieve shalom in your house, which is actually the hardest thing that you can possibly do. So let's say you ever merit that. So how do you give it over to others? Because the only way you got it is through God consciousness, is through Da'at. So you need to give them an opportunity to have Da'at. And this is the reason why I'm so passionate and so emphatic, and I'm begging everyone to please try and help this project, because the whole goal of this project is to spread Da'at all over the world. Because this is the key to peace. The key to peace is not having everybody have whatever they want. That is the surest way to war. The key to peace is Da'at, is God consciousness. So, therefore, you want to help people have peace in their house. If you want to have peace in the world, you need the truth. You want to help somebody, it doesn't mean you teach them the truth. It means you expose them to the truth. And only the tzaddik has the truth. Bring them and help them see the wisdom of Rabbi Nachman. Let them hear the truth of truths, not just the truth. Yes, there's many tzaddikim, and it's all true, but it's not the truth of truths. The truth of truth is Ein Milvado. There's nothing else besides Hashem. And Rabbi Nachman is teaching you this with every lesson that there is. And with this, there'll be peace. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this class. Please take what we learned about and talk to Hashem about it. Think about what we spoke about tonight. Think about what we talked about. I know this is very different than what you're taught in the world. I know this is maybe very different than what you have thought about life and about what a partner is. But as long as you resist what we speak about, you will experience chaos in your life. But as soon as you are able to internalize and to be open to what we spoke about, and to try and pray to Hashem that you should be able to bring this into your life, the sooner you experience peace in your life, both within yourself and within your relationships and within the world. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week for a men's women's class, Bezrat Hashem. Tomorrow night, men's class. Thank you, guys.